Hello, you're watching TVP World Talks. I'm Emmanuel. President Emmanuel Macron and Chancellor Friedrich Merz are holding high-level talks that are set to include discussions on European weapons procurement and manufacture. At stake is both the state-of-the-art Future Combat Air System, or FCAS project, and the broader idea for streamlining the European Union's defense industry. But can this summit go beyond defense issues and reinvigorate the so-called Franco-German engine? Joining us now is Sebastien Maillard, Special Advisor at the Jacques Delors Institute. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Dzień dobry. Hello.
Good to see you. And my first question is going to be about the summit itself. What is at stake there, especially in terms of the defense industry? Do you think that this actually heralds a new approach to the way the European Union is going to be purchasing high-tech weapons systems?
There will be a special summit itself on defense issues. I don't expect a big outcome, though. Both sides have already said we have to wait till the end of this year for an outcome on the future combat air system, which is one of the trickiest, thorny issues that both countries have to deal with. You know that it's a Franco-German project on aviation, quite a major complex initiative, but there's a fear on the German side that it's the French industry is taking too much grab on this project, and so there's still need for deep discussion. And so I don't expect a settlement there. And the other reason, I think, to give a broader picture, that this summit is happening, as you know, at a moment where the French government itself is in a sputtering state. And I think it doesn't also give a lot of it's difficult for Germans to really rely on their French counterpart there, because in a matter of a week or two, those ministers may not be in place still. So it's still a difficult moment, I think, for the French government to really welcome such a summit.
So it is a challenging moment, right? And let's focus first briefly both on the FCAS and also on the idea that was actually discussed recently in the press called the best athlete approach to weapons procurement, essentially to avoid having the defense industries of individual countries designing many different weapon systems. Instead, now the bloc would actually choose a single company which is best suited to a given task, and this company would manufacture weapons for all the countries involved. Do you think that this might work? Because we can see with the FCAS, you know, there is lots of competition, there's lots of discussions, also bureaucracy. So do you think the benefits would outweigh the possible challenges with such an approach, also based on the experience from the FCAS project that you've mentioned?
The biggest challenge, I think, for all Europeans is to succeed in being independent from the US, because the more you purchase you rely on a single procurer, and especially if it's a non-European one, then you really depend on it, and you cannot do whatever you want with it. The Pentagon actually gets its grip on it. So I think from a French point of view, but also I think one shared by the Germans now, is that we must succeed in having a European defense industry that is autonomous. So when it means autonomous from the US, it means that, of course, you have to rev up your capacities, and this takes time. But these are investments that will have consequences for decades. So it's really important. This is really taken seriously, because we cannot afford depending on Washington, D.C. to defend ourselves. And I think that is really the major concern from both sides. So it may end up with a more complex system, because we have different countries, different industries, and different shares in such complex weapons. But I think it's a price to pay, in a way, for a better, more autonomous Europe.
Even if, of course, we're going to have to wait for the results. I mean, Europe still doesn't have a stealth fighter, so it's purchasing from the only stealth fighter manufacturer that actually makes them, meaning the United States, at least for the time being. But let's take a look at the political aspect here as well, because you've mentioned that just a few moments ago. Would you say that there is good chemistry between Emmanuel Macron and Friedrich Merz, and that this is a welcome change from the times of Mr. Merz's predecessor?
Oh, definitely. The personal ties are much closer. And I think they couldn't be worse than between Scholz and Macron. At least from the French side, everyone at the Élysée is really happy with the way Merz is his francophone, his francophile, and it's the relationship is personally swifter, closer, smoother. So it's, but this actually has raised perhaps over expectations, because Merz, Chancellor Merz, also is in a coalition. He has to take into account he's the left-wing SPD, and so he cannot do whatever he wants, right? And although many of the things he has mentioned while he was in campaign or when he got elected were really rang a bell into French ears about nuclear deterrence or a more sovereign Europe. It's actually in practice a bit more difficult. He impressed his French counterparts at the very early stage when he got rid of the German debt rule and really pushed for more defense spending and spending at large, investing in German's economy. But I think now there's a bit of a disappointment also when seeing that he's actually not as he has his margins of maneuvers are quite limited, and so I think it's difficult for both sides, knowing that they both have political difficulties at home. But it's true that the personal relationship, which has mattered a lot in this kind of engine, is really much better now.
So as you said, political difficulties in France. There will be a confidence vote. It could result actually in the government being forced to resign. We have populists basically, carried by the wave of discontent in Germany. So actually doing really well in the polls. Do you think that meetings like that could produce any sort of initiative which could turn the tide for these political leaders? Because especially for Macron, things are looking rather difficult, and there is this looming threat that France could basically witness a profound political change following the next elections.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as 2027 yet, but it's true that there's a upcoming vote on the 8th of September, which most probably will end up with Prime Minister François Bayrou having to resign, and we'll have to look for a new one. So there will be political instability for some weeks or months in France. But and the budget to be achieved. But then I think to really turn the tide today in the geopolitical context our continent is on, it takes more than France and Germany. Even if the relationship was perfect, even if the political stability was there on both countries, in today's world, to impress the Trump administration, to impress Moscow, you have more. It takes more than strengthen Germany. That's why I think the Weimar Triangle is also very important, and we have seen, for instance, this week in Moldova, Donald Tusk, Chancellor Merz, and President Macron going to Moldova. See, you cannot just rely on the Franco-German engine anymore. You really need to have at least 3 countries. There's also a lot of cooperation now with the UK, even if the UK is not in the EU, and also in the field of defense. So I think the Franco-German, more than ever, is not sufficient in today's Europe and facing geopolitical challenges.
Sebastien Maillard was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your expertise. And I'm Emmanuel. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us for more latest news, updates and commentary.